Welcome to Flip Your Lid with Kim Honeycutt. Kim is a psychotherapist and executive director of ICU Talks, a mental health speaking ministry. This is a podcast about how to flip your lid and learning how to reconnect to who you really are.
All right, everybody. Thank you so much for tuning in to another episode of Flip Your Lid. I am really honored today to sit with Dr. Christine Cocchiola. I first heard her on Dr. Ramani, who's the leading expert in this world on narcissism, in my opinion. I got to sit here with Christine on that podcast, and it rocked my world in a beautiful way because I know she's out there being an advocate and doing the hard work. So welcome to Flip Your Lid, Dr. Cocchiola.
That was such a warm welcome. Thank you so much for that. I'm grateful to be here.
Yeah, so glad to hang out with you. So we're only guaranteed questions, the first one, and let's just see where this goes. So tell me and tell our audience, what flipped your lid and what measures have you had to take to reconnect to your true self?
Wow. Whoa. Okay. Well, I've been doing this work since I was 19, advocating for children of abuse, sexual assault victims, and domestic abuse victims because someone very close to me had been abused as a child. So I was determined to change the world at 19 years old, and ended up falling in love at 16 and marrying this person and being in a relationship that spanned over 35 years. Didn't realize that person was an abuser. And so teaching every single semester on the power and control wheel in my social work classes,
Yeah.
and also a therapist helping people with some of these exact situations and totally unaware of the power and control that was being exerted onto myself and frankly my children for a long period of time. So what flipped my lid? Geesh, a lot of things.
Yeah.
A lot of things. So, but I think, maybe when you heard me speaking on Dr. Ramani, one of the parts that was actually, I think, a little bit cut was this idea of understanding that a lot of victims and survivors come to these relationships not as having low self-esteem or
Right.
being codependent. Everybody wants to say victims and survivors are codependent. Frankly, it's super traits. It's like being really empathetic and wanting to make things work out and being fixers and agreeable and accommodating to the point only because not because I'm initially, this is what I always say, it's not initially that people do this to get to make the other person happy. It's because they actually are invested in the relationship.
Yes.
So
Yes.
when I came across really understanding schema theory and subjugation, I think that's really what flipped my lid.
Yeah.
initially.
That's so good. I'm so appreciative of what you said for so many reasons. One, that even though I'm a survivor of a narcissistic mother, I have trained, studied, done all this stuff, that to hear someone else who is amazing and beautiful and brilliant, knowing, because I still have had clients and different people who I didn't catch on at first. And I become their victim again. And yeah, I'm supposed to be that advocate. And it really is such a beautiful place of empathy, the way you explain this and talk about the super traits and how schema therapy developed by Dr. Jeff Young came in and helped you reframe that, which helps all of us reframe it.
Absolutely. And as a matter of fact, Young and Klasko wrote the book, the Reinventing Your Life, the 11 Life Traps. We all have life traps. And I have always told any of my clients, regardless if they're a victim or survivor or not, check out what your life traps are, because we all have maladaptive coping due to our
Right.
family systems, due to culture, due to, so many influences, the political and social contexts that create oppression. And so we all have them. But Glasgow and Young came up with the 13 danger signals for victims, for people who have subjugation
Right.
as their life trap. For me,
Right.
that was a huge ding, ding, ding moment. It was huge. And if I had my druthers, every single clinician would use the Young Glasgow assessment on subjugation when they meet clients, because people come in with anxiety and depression, to your point, right? We meet people in our life and we think that there's something wrong with us. And really, if we were able to do an assessment and say, wait a minute, maybe the thing that is quote unquote wrong with you is that you're overly giving, that you're overly empathic, that you are so attuned to other people and you don't want them to feel pain that
Mhm.
you actually your boundaries are shifted, right?
Right.
So I think
Yes.
there's a lot of power in that, and I hope someday that that will be like when you go to the OBGYN, you do an
Mhm.
assessment, this will be the assessment when you walk into a clinical
Yeah.
atmosphere.
Yeah,
So,
them.
yeah.
So just for my knowledge, just to so I give a lot of my clientele, my patients, the young questionnaire, the 116 questionnaire. Is there a different one that's just about subordination, or is it the same one?
Yes, there is. So, he has, of course, that long one that will tell you
Right.
what your life traps
Right.
are, right? What your schemas, your
Mm-hmm.
maladaptive coping mechanisms are. I appreciate the fact that you know about
Oh
this. It makes
yes.
me
Oh
so
yes.
excited.
Yay.
So, but he also has in this particular book an assessment for each of the
Wow.
11 life traps, and
Wow.
one is subjugation. I actually did a
Mm-hmm.
research study on it, and I actually
Mm.
called it Perfect Prey, which you probably know. I have a podcast called Perfect Prey
Yeah. Yeah.
because I think, it's never a victim's fault, but
Mm-hmm.
certainly they are the prey of these abusive
Mm-hmm.
people because of these traits, right?
Sure.
Yeah, and so in that research study, there were 187, I believe, victims and survivors who, did the assessment, and they scored moderately high or very high in
Wow.
subjugation.
That's profound. That is just so profound. And, you know, I love that you're putting out there that did you do that research when you're working on your DSW? Is that when that
Mhm.
came about? That like it's just what therapists we just don't know enough and it's okay. It's the willingness to learn. And like the fact that I listen to a podcast every day, which is how I get to know you. And from that, I've been able to refer patients to you because I think you do like a 15-minute thing you and your team do for free, and then a 30-minute for a very low price for those who are dealing with cohesive control, those who are going through the court system, right? And these are things that sadly you have to be an experienced therapist to come upon. And we're trying to change that,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, and I think to your point, there's some of the very most well-intentioned therapists
Hmm.
miss the signs. I'm
Yes.
actually doing trainings now where I am training therapists on coercive control.
Hmm.
It's all about the nuances of how this abuse shows up in
Hmm.
relationships in the systems. So, you know, the micro systems,
Yes.
but also in the meso systems and the macro systems.
Yeah.
And because clients come in with anxiety and we assume that that anxiety is something internal in them when
Mm.
actually it's an external factor that's influencing it.
Yeah.
And unless we ask about relationships, unless we and that's like kind of like a social work thing, like social workers do really like to look at people in their human environment. Unless we
Right.
look at that child who's coming in who's saying something like, I hate my mother. She's so
Yeah.
controlling. She's so
Hmm.
this.
Yeah.
Well, immediately we could say, we could validate that child. But what about helping that child to process why they feel that way? Is it possible that child has come into your office indoctrinated to
Yeah.
believe that about a protective
Sure.
parent?
Sure.
And
That's very
so,
true. That's a good point.
yeah, we really have to really be much more discerning
Hmm.
when people present and not just take everything at face value. And I
Hmm.
think there's a lot of wonderful validation that can happen in the
Hmm.
clinical realm,
Yeah.
but sometimes that validation actually reaffirms a false narrative, which
A
is
false
really, really harmful.
Mhm, false narrative, absolutely. So one thing that's a red flag for me is that, and it's not just women, but predominantly who walks in my door who has these symptoms are women, and they say that they're bipolar or their husband says they're bipolar or borderline personality disorder. Those are red flags to me that they are being abused and they're being convinced that it's because of them that they're the moody one, they're the one that's imbalanced. And have you seen the same thing?
Totally, totally. It's astounding to me, and I'm really concerned
Hmm.
about this, number 1, with adults, but I'm really concerned about the young people who are getting diagnosed with this
Yeah.
when nobody is actually saying, "Let's ask about the
Hmm.
parental subsystem."
Yeah.
What has been going on in this
Mhm.
family system, in the parental subsystem, that has created a child who has mood swings, who is
Right.
dysregulated, who has maybe attention challenges or
Hmm.
obsessive challenges? We keep on seeing this over and over again in the
Yeah.
literature. Neurodivergency
Hmm.
is, of course, intensified
Right.
when you're being coercively controlled. And the
Yeah.
reality is that oftentimes no one's acknowledging the coercive control. And so,
Yes, yes,
yeah,
yes. Yeah, and so is that part of because I know you're in one thing see, here's what happens, I get obsessed. Now, whenever I see a reel or social media and someone's calling it high conflict in the divorce system, I now channel you, but I also channel my social justice anger, because I'm like, no, that's not what it is. So tell our audience why that would bother me and what you taught me about that.
Sure. So you listened to Dr. Ramani's podcast. She actually, as you probably heard, highlighted me at a PESI conference
Yes.
in front of 500 people
Whew.
and said that because of
Yeah.
hearing me say it's not high conflict. So
Mm-hmm.
Rosenfeld and colleagues actually did research in 2019. And
Mm-hmm.
what they found is these abusive personalities, these narcissists, these coercive controllers. I
Right.
always say not all narcissists are coercive controllers,
Mm-hmm.
but all coercive controllers have the
And that.
pathology of narcissism. And
That's right.
frankly, they also are a little borderline. Their
Yeah.
fear of abandonment is pretty significant,
True.
but we don't really talk about that too much, or their black and white thinking is pretty
Mm-hmm.
significant. But in any case, this research affirmed what we already knew. There's only
Right.
one person drawn towards conflict.
Mm.
Now, if somebody's trying to take more custody time of your children from
Mm-hmm.
you and they are an abuser, you damn well are sure that they're going to be a little bit more
Right.
aggressive in the
Right.
courtroom because of their fear.
Right.
It just makes perfect
Makes
sense.
perfect sense.
So, but there is no such thing as, in my world, there's no such thing as high conflict. I want
Right.
to ask the question. And so I always say, this is not rocket science.
Yeah.
This is not
Yeah.
rocket science. Look at the parental subsystem,
Mm-hmm.
judges, court
Mm-hmm.
professionals,
Mm-hmm.
unless you're complicit.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
Well, and here's the issue, right? They are complicit. There's too many unification therapists, even the word of that is nauseating at this point, who there is this whole behind the scenes scene of them and the money they're making from this, and the unification camps and judges who are all a part of this. And it's now being talked about, but we can't talk about this enough.
Agreed. Agreed.
Yeah.
So I
Mm.
think I think probably it's threefold, right? Let's call some people ignorant. Well, then get yourself educated.
Yeah.
Okay, fine.
Right.
Let's also add in there, maybe you have a fear. You have a fear of, who these abusers are, and you
Mm-hmm.
really don't want to create adversary in your courtroom, or you
Mm-hmm.
don't want to create a problem in your private practice. These are the people who report therapists to licensing boards all day
Right.
long. I mean,
Right.
it happens. So
Right.
you have a fear, but also, are you complicit? Are you
Yeah.
allowing this abuse to continue? And that is like, unfortunately, that's why I'm doing this clinician training, because
Mhm.
I feel like the best way to overcome this issue is to infiltrate the system
That's right.
with the best trained people.
Yeah.
We have
Yeah.
to almost like take over.
Yes. Yes. And it's also just knowing like that if you're in this situation and you're going to court against someone who is pathological, someone narcissistic, all the things that the support you're going to need, because this is exhausting. We're talking years. We're talking as a narcissistic system that you're stepping into, thinking everything. Someone's going to listen to you and hear your stories, and they aren't. They're not going to hear about this is what narcissism is. Right?
Mhm.
There's certain strategies you need, people like you who can meet with somebody, help define it, but then how do you go through it?
Right. It's so
Yeah.
true. It's so true. And so I think I say the three P's.
Yeah.
We have to predict their behavior.
Mm.
And the only
Mhm.
way to really predict their behavior is to actually step outside of your circumstances and recognize what you've been living in.
Right.
So a lot of, as you know, victims and survivors haven't quite gotten there.
Yeah, that's true.
And we as victims survivors, again, those super traits, we don't like to believe that people can be evil.
Right.
But there are evil people,
That's
frankly.
right. That's right.
And so we have to predict what their behavior is,
Mhm.
and in that, we can prepare a lot
Yeah.
better. But if you're not
Yeah.
predicting, there's no way
Yeah.
you can
Yeah.
prepare.
Yeah.
And then in that, you protect yourself a little
Mm.
bit more.
Mhm.
Like what's the strategy behind this? What does that person know will hurt you? How can you maybe make them believe they got what they wanted? They hurt you.
Mm.
Make them believe it and
Yeah.
actually, it's kind of like that discussion about 50-50 custody. No abuser deserves any time with
Right.
children,
That's right.
period.
Mhm.
But every court is going to suggest 50-50.
Yes.
What happens if you suggest maybe 60-40
Mhm.
and no child support, if you can
Mhm.
do it?
Right. Right.
And now they think they won, but they
Uh-huh.
have to think you're really upset about losing the child
That's
support, and you
so
probably
true.
are, but
Yeah.
they have to actually truly believe that
Right.
you are devastated by that.
Right, right.
And that you're taking on the 60/40 because you know how hard they work and they need to
Yeah,
be able to have more
right,
time to work,
right.
right? And so in that, if you get 10% more time with your children, you have
Mhm,
just won gold.
mhm, that is
Bottom
good.
line.
Yeah, and really for everyone listening to this, if you don't know what this is like and thinking that's dishonest, no, this is survival and using survival strategies because a lot of people, it's just true. A lot of judges are narcissistic. A lot of people within the system, a lot of guardian ad litems are not educated. The only thing the court system psychologically will look at is parental alienation syndrome. And guess what, y'all? That is a false diagnosis. There's no such thing. It was created by a narcissistic man who, once he
Who
got exposed, took his own life.
and who actually supported pedophiles.
Yes, so let's just and so just
And
know this is known about this man, and still PAS is honored in the court system, but narcissistic personality disorder is not.
right, that's a really great way to put it. I appreciate that.
Mm,
Like how can we recognize one thing but
right,
not the other?
but
Or
not
how
the
come we're
other.
not talking about coercive control, which
Right.
is not always non-physical, but why are we not talking about the fact that people can be abused in ways that may be physical, but also the
Mhm.
worst type of abuse we know research shows us the most complex is when we don't have a visible sign because it's very
Mhm.
difficult to
Mhm.
describe for
Right.
people to believe. It's like Dr. Evan Stark states, it's like carpenter ants devouring the foundation of a home. You don't even
Yeah.
know it's happening
Right.
until it's too late.
Right.
And so really not recognizing that in the court system is so significant. And I just want to add a little thing for your listeners,
Mhm.
because I think when people hear that people like you or me don't quote unquote believe in parental alienation syndrome,
Mhm.
it is an immediate turnoff
Right.
because there's some people who are like, wait a minute,
Mm.
I was alienated from my children
Mhm.
by an abuser. And
Yeah.
I want to be really clear with your listeners. I hear you. I see you. It happened to me.
Yeah.
The problem is the term is being co-opted by
Right.
abusive people.
Right.
We really don't want to use that term, and we don't
Mhm.
even want to give an abuser the opportunity to co-opt it in your case.
Right.
But we see you and we hear you.
Yeah.
And really what it is it's psychological maltreatment of children
Mhm.
is really what it is. It is abuse and neglect. That's what maltreatment means. It's
Mhm.
beyond it
Mm.
is just horrifying for children. It is the
Mm.
coercive control of children
Yes.
and
Yes.
like a cult.
Yeah, and you said it so well, and part of it too is like, usually the spouse, male or female, that is the narcissist is it's just narcissistic supply for your child. They really don't want to provide energy and regulation and all that for the child. If they did, they would not be fighting in court for years. They would not be coming against what the child is saying. Like you and I both know children that are saying at age 12, 13, 15, 16, I don't feel safe around you. And the court saying, who cares?
That's right. That's right. I know a 16-year-old right now who went to jail for 3 weeks because she refused to go with custody was flipped. Mother was getting 48 hours a week
Mm,
versus what mother had previously had, and the judge actually put her in jail. A
wow.
16-year-old.
16, y'all hear that? 16-year-olds. This is happening in so many different states. So much is happening. And you and I both know that reunification camps are huge money makers. We're talking about children, strangers coming into the house midnight, taking children from their bedroom and taking them to a camp and making them stay there until they're willing to be around their abusive parent.
Which often I mean, we have some, right, who haven't seen their protective parent for 5 years.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so if you're, a person listening and you're like, "Yeah, but my kid has been alienated. I want them to go to camp with
Mm,
me. I
mm,
love them very much. I miss them." Let me just say this to you. If your child has a belief system that they are attached to that other parent and they
mm,
aren't attached to you, it's actually harmful to try
mm,
to deprogram them. It's
right.
actually harmful. And so I get
Mm,
the pain of that. I want to just like, again, hear, like, I see you, I hear you, I get the pain. And you're thinking this reunification or repair therapy is going to fix things,
mhm.
but it's not going to fix things if we're trying to deprogram our child because that actually causes more harm.
Yeah.
It's like ripping the attachment to something, even if it's not a healthy attachment, ripping
Mhm.
that attachment away is not how we help children to heal.
Mhm.
It's
It's
not.
not. It is not. And again, you're saying it so well that so many children have been programmed that they are leaning towards the narcissist because they have watched and subconsciously and consciously decided this is what's safe. This is, I have to get the one who disapproves to approve of me for me to be okay.
Yes,
Yeah. And how
so
horrible
true.
for a parent to watch that and have to wait. Have to wait.
Right, and so there's a way to do that. It's just simply about being present, being
Mm.
available in a way. When they come back, they have to know they're coming back not to questions. They have
Mhm.
to know that the
Mhm.
conversation, if it's over coffee 2 years later, 2 months later,
Mhm.
whatever it is, it's benign.
Yeah.
It's a benign conversation that does
Yeah.
not have expectations laden upon it.
Mhm.
That's where they will begin to feel like they can come back more regularly. But
Mhm.
when we come at them and we're like, "Well, where were you? How come I haven't
Yeah.
talked to you? How come you haven't
Right.
texted me? Why do you wanna live with him?" All of
Mhm.
these other things,
Mhm.
that's not gonna be helpful to their healing.
Yeah. Yeah. And, people's motives matter. So some people are asking that with really good motives. Other people are asking that with their own hidden agenda. But we're expecting children to regulate their parents' emotions instead of the parents regulating the child's emotion. And the child's the one who's going through the most change,
Mhm.
right? And divorce isn't easy on anyone, but the child's job is not to regulate your emotions. And sadly, unification therapy teaches the child, you got to make sure daddy or mommy is okay with this.
Oh, so well said.
Yeah.
So well said.
Yeah.
I appreciate that very
Yeah.
much.
It's really heartbreaking. I just want to thank you. Like, I could spend 3 hours with somebody and they would not give as much information that you just did in 25 minutes. But really, I want to thank you that you were part of my resource, my team, and so many people can come to you, spend some time with you, get some really solid advice that's got it's got a wide lens to it, right? And when you don't have choice, you need somebody coming in helping you to have choices, and that is so the advocacy work that you're doing.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, I
Mm.
think it's really important that we do look at this through the wide coercive control lens. Like, if
Yeah.
we could look at all abuse every single time
Mm.
one person or group of people in your home, in your, education, in your employment,
Mhm.
and of
Mhm.
course in agencies and family court, in the government, in all political realms,
Yeah.
and think about what is the motivation behind people who are exerting power and control over us.
Yeah.
And is that motivation
Mm.
to minimize, to diminish, to put others down? I mean, when I think about coercive control, I
Mm.
think about racism. I think
Mhm.
about classism.
Mhm.
I feel like it's the basis of all of the harms
Mm.
inflicted onto humanity.
Mhm.
And of course, we're mostly concerned about our most vulnerable.
Yeah.
But if we really widen that lens, like you just said,
Mhm.
and looked through this coercive control lens, all of a sudden, like, all the veils come down.
Yeah.
Like, you
Yeah.
see the world in
Yeah.
an entirely different way.
Yeah. So well
And
said.
I think that
Mm.
that's the way if we can all do that, there's power in that, personal
Mhm.
power, good power
Mhm.
in that.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's beautiful. And just knowing, like, there might be one 3-hour class in graduate school teaches you a little bit about narcissism, borderline personality disorder. Very little is taught about attachment theory, schema
Mhm.
therapy. As far as I know, at this point, is not taught within the graduate level classroom. So, if you're looking for an advocate, if you're looking for a psychotherapist, find somebody who has taken the time to take Dr. Cocchiola's class. They've done something beyond what happened to them in graduate school, because it's just like with any education, it's not enough.
It's not enough.
It's
It's
not
not.
enough.
Yeah, I actually have now about 8 therapists on my website who are licensed in various states throughout the
Mhm.
country. And that's the hope, is to grow that list so that, I mean, if people wanted, I don't, if you need to take, if you're using insurance, you can certainly go that route.
Mhm.
And myself and my associate also see people, and
Mhm.
of course trained, because we need to really shift the way that we look at virtually all relationships. And, this
Yeah.
is an interesting stat one
Yeah.
of my colleagues mentioned the other day, actually, in one of the trainings I was giving. 35% of women suffer violence in their lifetime.
Mm.
If 35% of women suffer violence in their lifetime, how many perpetrators are there?
Yeah. It's a good
How
question. How
many
many? How
perpetrators are there?
many? Yeah.
It's astounding because
Yeah.
perpetrators typically have more than one victim.
Yeah. Absolutely.
It's astounding when you
It
think of it
is.
that way.
It is. And to know that we got a system that might not have the empathy, understanding, and life experience that when you go seek help for whatever that type of violence is, then now there is another trauma. There's a secondary trauma. And a lot of times it just doesn't end until you find some people like you who are able to sit and let someone have space to learn how to heal.
Yeah, I mean, the institutional betrayal is
Yes.
just so the trauma is so compound
Mm-hmm.
and complex. It's
Yeah.
layered. It doesn't
Mm-hmm.
really there's
Mm-hmm.
no room to breathe, honestly, it feels
Mm-hmm.
like sometimes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's really true. Yeah. So we got to find at least one person who gives us breathing space and sees beyond what situation we're in.
Mhm.
So thank you for being that person for so many. We'll make sure in our notes that people can get in touch with you. They can get in touch with you for professional one-on-one, but also to be part of your class. If you're a therapist or somebody who really wants to know how to help people who, if there's anybody who needs help, it's people who are surviving a narcissist.
Thank you, thank you, and my
Mhm.
protective parenting program is specific to moms and protective dads,
Mhm.
who are dealing with children
Mhm.
who are being coercively controlled, whether they're
Mhm.
afraid to go to the abuser's home,
Mhm.
whether they're aligning with the abuser, whether they're disassociating. The
Mhm.
program is set up in a way that it really gives protective parents the tools to be able to help their children as they navigate all of these harms that they're
Mhm.
experiencing. So,
Yeah,
yeah.
I love that. And, for those of you who heard Dr. Carol George last week on the podcast talk about that as a child through attachment lens, that what is considered love is protection. And
I
so
love
when we
that.
say protective parent, I mean that's the loving parent. And so thank you so much. Honestly, thank you. This has been such an honor for me and it fed me so much. So thank you for being here. I know you're super busy.
Thank you. Thank you for
Yeah.
having me. I appreciate it.
Really appreciate it. Y'all check out her information, follow her on Instagram, do all the things that cool people do. And I know you heard something today that helped you reconnect to who you really are. And we'll see y'all next time.
Thank you for listening to Flip Your Lid with Kim Honeycutt. Please subscribe, rate, and share. You can find Kim on Facebook or Instagram at KB Honeycutt. To get an autographed copy of Kim's book, visit butyourmotherlovesyou.com. Remember, no matter what, treat yourself well today.